Hey, how's it going? Dylan here. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my review on Ant-Man and the Wasp. First off, I'd like to really thank Event Cinemas Marion for giving me the chance to go see this screening. They provided me with the tickets. They're a really great team there, and I'm really glad to be able to work with them in some capacity. So definitely go check out eventcinemas.com.au if you're in Australia and want to go to the cinemas. Always a great time. So, to my review of Ant-Man and the Wasp. I wasn't particularly looking forward to this one for a while, really right up until the days before release, really. The trailers didn't do much for me. I hadn't seen the original Ant-Man in 2 years, so I was a bit rusty. Sat down and watched it the night before I went to see this on Wednesday, and the first Ant-Man I enjoyed more than I remembered I did, and so I kind of upped my hopes a bit. The trailers didn't do it for me at all for this sequel. It was kind of just like okay looking, and obviously we've just come off Infinity War within a month and a half before, so that was really kind of serious and brutal and kind of sad. This seemed very lighthearted and it seemed odd match and things like that. After a great deal of trouble on Thursday getting to the cinema, there was bad traffic, the taxi driver was late, everything went wrong, missed public transport, etc. I eventually got there about 2 minutes till it started, and I really felt like just going home, to be honest. If I was any later, I would have just gotten the taxi driver to drive straight home. But I'm really glad that I didn't, because I had a real massive blast with this film. It was so much better than I thought it would be. Obviously, this one's directed by Peyton Reed, who directed the first, but obviously Edgar Wright had left just before the first started real production, like within a month or so of it. So I was kind of nervous to see what a full Peyton Reed Ant-Man movie would be like. This movie is more kind of a dual movie, obviously, from the title, Ant-Man and the Wasp. The Wasp, played by Evangeline Lilly, gets a lot of screen time here, and she's really ridiculously good. I've always been a fan of her acting, and I'm really glad that her character gets to really shine in this movie. The movie starts off with Scott Lang, Ant-Man, obviously under house arrest due to the events in Civil War, and he's almost about to kind of finish that house arrest, and he plays with his daughter at home and things like that and all that good stuff, and he kind of gets pulled into a plot which involves Hope and her father trying to find her mother, who's been trapped in the quantum realm for 30 years. And that's the basic kind of premise of the movie. This movie provides a very kind of low stakes plot and like kind of drama in favor of kind of more light-hearted experience, which is actually really good breath of fresh air from seeing Infinity War. And I'm really glad to have actually seen it on Wednesday. Ant-Man and the Wasp doesn't really fall into the same kind of story structure as the earlier Marvel movies. There's no real clear-cut villain like in the first, and obviously the clear-cut villain in terms of someone that wants to do something really bad and destroy the world and is motivated by evil intentions like money and things like that. This one, not so much. There's a few different antagonists, but there's not really one main villain per se, which is kind of refreshing, and I actually really enjoyed it. All the antagonists, I guess you could call them, which would be a better word, kind of get in the main hero's way, and they are obstacles to get past. They're also mainly motivated by actually normal kind of feelings, except for one of them, which is played by Walton Goggins, who I'm a big fan of. He doesn't get a lot of screen time here, but he's kind of like a side villain slash antagonist, and he still does really well with the material that he's given here. The film looks really great in general and visually striking, like better than some of the earlier Marvel movies that kind of had like a grey overtone, kind of log almost like colour grading. But this one's fairly colourful, not over the top like Guardians or Thor Ragnarok, but adequate. Really have to note here as well, Marvel's de-aging CGI has gotten ridiculously good. Like, it is so amazingly come so far along since the last time I saw it. Obviously, Hank Pym, Michael Douglas in the first Ant-Man was de-aged in the intro sequence, and in this sequel we also see a similar sequence at the start where it has him de-aged and also Michelle Pfeiffer de-aged with him. And I was sitting in the cinema and looking at the screen for any inconsistencies with Michelle Pfeiffer, and it looked ridiculously good. I could not actually believe what I was seeing. It looked as if someone had sent a digital camera back in time, taken shots of Michelle Pfeiffer in the 80s, and then brought it back to the present because it looked that good. I could not pick apart anything. Michael Douglas's de-aging is also very good and improved, although it didn't look as real as Michelle Pfeiffer. She was closer to the camera though, so it makes kind of sense. I really hate to think how much budget actually went into those shots. A bunch of the side characters from the first film do return here, and they're just as good as you remember them. The whole audience in my cinema was waiting for that, for Michael Pena to do his thing that he does in the first film. You know what I'm talking about. And it's kind of seemed like it wasn't going to happen for a little bit, but then you kind of click. The entire audience in my screening clicked at the same time as to what was about to transpire, and it was so enjoyable and so funny. He steals the show just like he did in the first film. His two sidekicks, partners in crime, are back as well, but in this one you may see in the trailer kind of thing, they run a security company together, and they are great as usual. Have some great funny lines. It's really handled quite well. None of it's crass. It's just light-hearted fun, and the audience really got into it in my screening, which is a really good sign of how well it's made and how well it works. The only downside to this film I could really point out would be the soundtrack feels like it could have punched a bit more. There's a third act sequence with the car chase, and the soundtrack starts kicking in and you think, oh, it's going to ramp up to a next level of loudness or anything, but it kind of just stays at this kind of semi-quiet level, so it's not as impactful. I thought it could have used with a bit more oomph in that, definitely in that sequence at least. I came out of the cinema really thoroughly excited and really upbeat compared to going in, which I was actually quite sad and kind of just wanted to go home and go to bed, and then have to go to work tomorrow and all that. It was just getting to be a really depressing situation, but this film actually really cheered me up, and really glad I went to see it. I'm going to give Ant-Man and the Wasp a 7.5 out of 10. I definitely consider this film better than the first Ant-Man in my opinion. People are a bit mixed on that, I've noticed on Twitter, but I definitely think it was much more enjoyable than the first. It's fantastic, cannot wait to show my wife it. Thanks again to Event Cinemas Marion for providing me tickets. Always a pleasure working with you guys. Go visit them on their website below, eventcinemas.com.au. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more. When you subscribe, don't forget to hit that bell button to be notified of new uploads when they become available. Let me know what you thought of the video in the comments or via Twitter, always open for a conversation. Let me know what movies I should go see, what old ones that I haven't seen should I watch, etc. Follow me on the links below, and till next time,